With great power comes great responsibility.
Compromise where you can. Where you can't, don't. Even if everyone is telling you that something wrong is something right. Even if the whole world is telling you to move. It is your duty to plant yourself like a tree, look them in the eye and say no. You move.
Never step onto the battlefield of ideas unprepared. Before you enter the fray, you need a plan. And there's no better place to get one than right here on Tactics with host Caleb Colquitt. The Situation Room goes live now on News Radio 1440.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being with us here on Tactics on News Radio 1440 and the News Radio 1440 app, whether you're joining us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, all the different venues that we're on. We appreciate you being here on Tactics, where speech isn't violence, tolerance isn't love, and disagreement isn't hate. So thank you so much for being here with us on the program. We do have a very special program. That's the reason that we're starting at the time that we are tonight, because of course the president is just about to walk in for the State of the Union. It will be his final State of the Union for his first term. He may return to office, he may not next year, but the point is, for the first term, this is his final one. So State of the Union 2020 coverage is going on right now. And we do have a special program for you. Like I said, we're going to be giving live commentary. We're watching it right now, and there are a few special rules for this episode that don't normally apply. So here's some of the things that you really need to know about it. First of all, and I'm going to be looking at my computer screen an awful lot tonight because I want to also get some reactions from you. I really want you guys to comment. I want to hear what you guys have to say. And so we're going to be doing that quite a bit. And secondly, like a lot of shows, we're going to be playing a drinking game for this State of the Union. Now, keep in mind, I don't drink alcohol. So this is a little different for me, but I've picked a beverage that I believe is very appropriate for the United States of America and especially the South. We're going with sweet tea. So I've made an entire gallon of sweet tea. I over-prepared, so I'm sure I won't need that much. I don't know. Looking at this list, we may. So here are the rules for our drinking game. First of all, anytime the president says huge or tremendous, anytime he says either one of those things, I got to take a drink. Also, perfect call. So if he's ever talking about the Ukraine call, perfect call. America first, make America great again, keep America great, any of those. Anytime he mentions impeachment, so he doesn't even have to necessarily say the word impeachment, he just has to mention that one. Anytime he uses the word shifty shift, which I think there's at least a 20% chance that's going to happen at some point this evening. Anytime he says China, or anytime he mentions Iran, which could be a lot considering the breaking news of this afternoon. Anytime he uses the phrase very, very bad deals. Anytime he says that when we're going to do it, anytime he mentions the wall, and because it's not all about the president, because there are, of course, other people there, anytime Vice President Pence does the stand, nod, and applause when he does all three at the same time, you know that, and he stands up when he does all three of those at the same time, you got to take a drink. Also, Nancy Pelosi, anytime she plays with her dentures, sitting behind the president, anytime that happens, then I have to take a drink. Anytime AOC applauds herself, that happened quite a bit at the last one. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Hopefully, we'll see AOC applaud herself. I'm sure that'll happen at least a couple times this evening. And also, either time Senator Dianne Feinstein falls asleep. If she falls asleep, I've got to take a big swig. So that's what the rules are going to be for tonight. Before we get into it, and they're still doing the coverage here, we're actually streaming in CBS's coverage, and the thing is about it, I can't do like screen sharing or anything like that because YouTube's gonna bust me for not being transformative enough, even though I'm clearly doing commentary on it. But just to avoid that, I'm trying to make sure that the coverage is basically just you're hearing it off of my laptop, so you will be able to hear the speech, and I'm going to have it loud enough to where you should be able to hear what's going on. I may even add my second mic here specifically to it so that you may be able to hear it a little better, because my mics, of course, are directional. So now that I've got that set up. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about before we get into the speech, what I'm expecting, it's going to be basically a campaign speech. And that tends to be true of the last State of the Union for the first term. That's just kind of par for the course. But especially with the President Trump, I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to tout his economic numbers, everything. All right, so it looks like everybody is standing up. We're going to go ahead and go to coverage right now.
You know all the personalities. You know who. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of 435 members, but as a former page, we had to know everybody's faces, so it's something you just kind of is ingrained.
All right, yeah, they're still kind of talking around right now. Oh, there's Pelosi. She just gavelled in. So,
all right, let's go ahead and listen in.
All right, here we go. Here it comes. All right, so they're not announcing the president right this second. It's the Supreme Court that's walking in right now. Let's see if all of them are there, because, usually they don't all attend. Yeah. Roberts, Kagan, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh. Is that Stephen Breyer? I think that's it. I don't see any others. Maybe it's just my camera angle. I think we've only got, 4 or 5? Is that 5? All right, so now that they've done that little march in, they should be introducing the president any second now. And again, I can't do any screen sharing on this because of copyright issues. So what you're going to have to do is, if you are watching it, you'll just have to watch it on your TV or live stream it next to me to actually get the visual of what's going on. I'm sorry, there's not really a way for me to do that without getting busted by the YouTube police. Wow, everybody standing there looks just as bored as we do. All right, so he's coming in. I think Trump's trying to be fashionably late here.
That's Kathleen Joyce. She's the assistant sergeant at arms. Of course, the person we'll be also watching for is Paul Irving. He's the house sergeant at arms, and we know him from that booming voice where he announces the president of the United States.
That's right. These sergeant at arms, they take great pride in this moment. This is the president of the United States. This is something that prior sergeant at arms, they practice it. I mean, you make sure you get it right. I thought it was striking watching Chief Justice John Roberts.
Hey, guys. Didn't see this coming, but a friend of mine just walked in, Ethan. Hey, what's going on, Ethan? You coming in here to do some commentary? I don't have room back here, and it's only on this little screen, so you're welcome to hang out here and watch if you want. But, you'll only be able to hear it. Playing a drinking game right now, so I'm just going to take a sip. Speech hasn't even started yet.
That would have made for some interesting imagery and pageantry. I'm sure the president would have referred to some of the campaign themes that we've heard beaten into the ground as well.
We expect to see any moment now First Lady Melania Trump being escorted into the
What are you eating?
gallery. Speaking of 2020,
You don't know and you're still eating? Life of a college student, ladies and
I
gentlemen.
think she's speaking with Senator Christine Gillibrand. So two.
You mind if I throw you on camera?
Contenders,
You mind if I throw you on camera real quick?
quest for the
All right.
Democratic nomination.
There's a number of those boys.
Like, what? Seriously, show the audience. What are you eating there? Hang on.
Senators and House members.
My buddy's dad made it for the Super Bowl. I got leftovers. I got no idea.
Fair enough. I got you. Well, it looks good.
I wonder if Molly, you could just very briefly, while
We got Julian Castro there.
Fundamentally, though, in many ways, both the House and the Senate have changed over the course of the Trump administration with respect to not only how they...
It really does look like they have just as little idea what's going on as we do, so...
But within each of those chambers, because there's, from what I understand in the Senate especially, such a different sense of comedy compared to comedy, C-O-M-I-T-Y, compared to what had existed in the past.
All right, so we're about 3 minutes out.
From different parties who...
And it's one of the things that frankly, I'm not a big fan of the State of the Union. Never really have been. I kind of like that up until, I want to say it was Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson's the first one that like made a big speech at a joint session of Congress. Up until then, it was all written down, and I kind of liked that better. I wish that they would do that. I just don't like all the pomp and circumstance that comes with it. But, you know, it's my job.
Say maybe the late 90s, really. A lot of senators had been former governors, or they had been executives in their states. They had played more prominent.
I don't have the technology to do that, Ward. So, Justin, if you're watching this on Facebook, just commented, screen share a mirrored image. I don't have the tech for that. Like, it's a good idea. It really is. Because that'd keep the copyright police off my back, but I also just don't have the technological ability to mirror image that thing. Maybe I could learn how to do it. Okay, that dude standing behind Melania, he looks like Barron Trump, but with a beard. Like, I don't know who that dude is, but he looks a lot like Barron Trump. Maybe a cousin or something.
She's there with her family. We saw various members of the family of the first.
All right, there's Melania.
Just to pick up on Molly's point really quickly, as I know the president will be joining soon.
Definitely one of the best looking first ladies, wouldn't you agree, Ethan? Yeah. I'd say maybe Jackie Kennedy. You know, maybe Jackie could give her a run for her money. Not many others. I will say, though, back in her day, Barbara Bush was a very attractive lady. Like, by the time she got to the White House, you know, but if you look at old pictures of Barbara Bush, she was a fetching lady.
Recognized next to the first lady was Rush Limbaugh, who has just been diagnosed.
Oh yeah, Rush is here. I forgot about that, man. Keep him in your prayers.
We see the president's cabinet entering to applause.
Can't believe that. I mean, as a radio host that has also dealt with cancer, I got to tell you, man, that's a tough pill to swallow. And it is difficult to keep that job going when you've got that. Although it explains why Rush has been so MIA lately. Because, you know, he's had a lot of fill-in hosts. Of course, he's also on News Radio 1440.
The moment tonight to announce that or talk a little bit more about that as well. Certainly, that will be
he's from noon to 2, I believe. And then we go into Savage and then Ben Shapiro. So I'm still fascinated by that thing, man. It's like a... I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a... It's like a homemade Hot Pocket.
Yeah, thank you very much for watching. We're going to turn it over to CBS
Yeah.
news anchor Nora O'Donnell.
I bet it's a German dish. I don't know. It's like Hasendorfen or something, but
He said it's called a Runza or something like that.
Runza. Yeah, that sounds either German or maybe even a little bit Russian, like Runza, the way that falls off the tongue. All right, so the president's cabinet is going in right now. Oh, CBS's big State of the Union thing.
Good evening, I'm Nora O'Donnell in Washington.
Oh yeah, they're doing the fancy intro now. It's coming.
Third State of the Union address at a critical time in his presidency. Want to show you
Oh good, we get the CBS commentary because that's what I tuned in for.
The president expected to arrive there shortly in the chamber. His theme for the night, the Great American Comeback. And in one release, excerpt just released a short time
Oh, by the way, Ethan, in case you want a copy of the drinking game rules and want to join in yourself, we're using sweet tea, of course. Because it's both very American and very Southern, so I felt it was appropriate.
In his address tonight, Mr. Trump can point to a strong economy, a booming stock market, and new trade.
Hey, my buddy Trey just chimed in. Trump rules, this is the way. Well, we know what side he's on.
First Lady Melania Trump has already arrived.
Good to see you, Trey.
The Vice President and the Speaker of the House. I mentioned his approval ratings. A new Gallup poll out today shows the president's approval at 49%. Also worth noting that the president was impeached in this very...
Okay, I know that they're saying the Trump's approval rating is at 49%, and they're doing that very, like, deadpan or whatever. I think 49% is the highest he's ever been. Like, 49% is actually really high for Trump. And in fact, if you had looked back... Oh, that's interesting. If you had looked back at President Obama, if I'm not mistaken, President Obama never got above 46, 47-ish. And that was at the height of his popularity. So, like, 49% is really not bad, honestly.
Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi and Donald
Donald Trump have not spoken since October of last year.
Well, yeah, why would you want to speak to Nancy Pelosi? Gosh. Why would anyone want to speak? If I had the option to speak or not speak to Nancy Pelosi, that's what I'm picking, you know?
The President's State of the Union. John Dickerson is with us, our senior political analyst and 60 Minutes correspondent. And Margaret Brennan is a CBS News senior foreign affairs correspondent and the moderator of Face the Nation. Welcome to you both.
I got to tell you, if Trump's approval rating is at 49% right now, and this is while he's going up against generic Democrat, when they actually put a name and he has to run against an actual person as opposed to just generic Democrat, that looks really good for Trump. Yeah. By the way, man, you want me to mic you up? Like, just hang on. Give us 1 second here. Live web show, so gonna try not to hit my yeah, just pull that down. And there's your headphones if you want them. There's the president. And you can just pull that down too if you want to talk.
Many members who gather along. You might be able to see there on that last shot that we just showed you, the First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump. There are guests in the president's box there, in the First Lady's box. And one of
all right, so the president's coming in,
who just revealed this week,
being led by Lex Luthor.
From lung cancer.
Huh, CBS is doing something to honor Rush Limbaugh. That's kind of shocking. I wonder how Rush would have reacted to that.
Indeed, and he's a divisive person for many, but has a huge following, and that is something that the president does respect. I think tonight it is interesting to watch.
I tell you what, Rush's show tomorrow is going to be fascinating. He's there at the State of the Union. Actually, there's a few talk show hosts there because I heard Glenn Beck is there.
It seems he is trying to underscore that he's not the walking wounded. He survived the most powerful tool that Congress.
Is that Pompeo? Yeah. Okay, so there he's walking past John Roberts, Pompeo, Kavanaugh, Kagan.
And this moment here, speaking with the Chief Justice who had to preside.
Wait, is Breyer there? Or is Kagan the only liberal justice there?
I want to bring in Nancy Cordes, who covers Capitol Hill for us. And quite a moment for this president as he is expected to speak about
going past the generals.
3 years in office.
Absolutely, Nora, because as he does that, he will be speaking to a room filled with House Democrats who voted to impeach him just a month and a half ago.
Oh, I fully expect the intro of Trump's speech to be, despite the best efforts of half the people in this room, I am still president. I 100% expect that to take place.
On the other hand, the president does give this speech with the certainty that he will be acquitted tomorrow. It would take a 2/3 vote to remove him, and at this point, it looks like it's going to be a vote that comes down largely on party lines.
And Nancy, you see the Speaker of the House just tried to shake the president's hand, and he refused, or perhaps did not see her hand. As I mentioned,
oh, he snubbed her.
And he did not extend his to her.
Although they're going to be analyzing this ad nauseum tomorrow.
You should know Nancy Pelosi wearing that white jacket, and you'll see a number of the female Democratic House members also wearing white as they mark the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote. A key timeline this year for marking women's suffrage.
All right, here we go.
Members of Congress, the President of the United States.
You know, it had to kill her to say that. To have to say, President Trump, the President of the United States. Like, that was a knife in the gut of Nancy Pelosi.
She can't wait to say former.
Yeah.
And a standing ovation for the President of the United States. It looks like
the Republicans are chanting 4 more years.
Yes.
Launch of his re-election bid, and you're hearing that 4 more years from those Republican supporters who really went to bat for him.
You know, my favorite is when Arnold Schwarzenegger used to chant that during the Bush years when he was governor. 4 more years. 9. Gosh, that was fun.
The First Lady of the United States.
Hey, giving a shout out to his wife. And it looks like she's getting bipartisan standing ovation. Well, you know, good for the Democrats. Applauding the First Lady.
My fellow citizens, 3 years ago, we launched the Great American Comeback. Tonight, I stand before you to share the incredible results. Jobs are booming, incomes are soaring, poverty is plummeting, crime is falling, confidence is surging, and our country...
Confidence is surging. I wonder how you quantify that.
...highly respected again.
Okay, there it is. The Pence nod, stand, and applaud. So that's a drink. Ethan's got his too.
America's enemies are on the run. America's fortunes are on the rise, and America's future is blazing bright.
Here he goes.
Yep.
The years of economic decay are over.
It's a good way to start out the speech. I still also would have started out with, I'm still your president, but you know. This is probably why Trump doesn't let me write his speeches.
The days of our country being used
Pelosi in the background.
She looks about as dumb as ever.
by other nations.
You can't even see her. Oh, wait, you're streaming. Okay. About to say, you can't even see the screen from here. Yeah, technology.
Jobless recoveries, tired platitudes, and constant excuses for the depletion of American wealth, power, and prestige. In just 3 short years, we have shattered the mentality of American decline, and we have rejected the downsizing of Americans' destiny. We have totally rejected the downsizing. We're moving forward at a pace that was unimaginable just a short time ago, and we are never, ever going back.
What was that deal Pelosi just did with the mic? All right, really strong way to start out the speech. Of course, the Democrats are not eating it up, but...
I am thrilled to report to you tonight that our economy is the best it has ever been. Our military is completely rebuilt, with its power being unmatched anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. Our borders are secure. Our families are flourishing.
That's dubious.
Our values are renewed. Our pride is restored. And for all of these reasons, I say to the people of our great country and to the members of Congress, the state of our union is stronger than ever before.
All right, well, there's Pence.
What was that?
All right, so I don't know if this is planned or not, but you've got Pelosi back there looking like she's, I don't know, stamping letters or something.
Demonstrates how we are building the world's most prosperous and inclusive society, one where every citizen can join in America's unparalleled success, and where every community can take part in America's extraordinary rise. From the instant I took office, I moved rapidly to revive the U.S. economy, slashing a record number of job-killing regulations.
Now that is one thing that Trump has done an unqualified, fantastic job of. You know, some things with Trump, it's been kind of hit or miss, but that, no question, when it comes to slashing regulation, he's been better than even Reagan.
Our agenda is relentlessly
Smart to open with that.
pro-family, pro-growth, and most of all, pro-American.
What I like about this message so far is that it's primarily been focused on a rising tide raises all ships. Because what he's talked about, he hasn't been specific with, you know, minorities or anything like that or any special interest group. He's just saying the country as a whole is better. And because of that, the average person is doing better.
Since my election, we have created 7 million new jobs, 5 million more than government experts projected during the previous administration. The unemployment rate is the lowest in over half a century. Very incredibly, the average unemployment rate under my administration is lower than any administration in the history of our country.
I mean, this is the obvious play for Trump. He wants to tout his numbers. And the reason is because this is a guy that can run on his record. What he has done for the country has worked. And so all you have to do is put the information out there. You don't have to sugarcoat it or dress it up.
The world would not now be witnessing this great economic success.
So now the question becomes, how long does he keep talking about this and when does he move into other things? I'm not tired of it yet, but just saying.
The unemployment rate for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans has reached the lowest levels in history.
There was actually a recent poll that showed that Trump's approval amongst minorities has actually gone up substantially from what they ever thought it would be. And I think that has a lot to do with it.
Well, there's only so much you can do to argue with fact.
Well, and that's the thing, I get that it's been tradition and things kind of just become, you vote a certain way because that's the way your family's always done it, that's the way you've always done it. But if you're a guy that, for the past 8 years has had a really hard time, and then all of a sudden everything's going better for you, you have to start asking, okay, what does really work here? I mean, I think eventually that reality starts catching up to people. Oh, there we go. Well, he's not nodding, so I guess not.
Unemployment rate dropped to a record low. The unemployment rate for disabled Americans has reached an all-time low.
See, I don't understand how the Democrats don't applaud at this. Because even if you hate Trump's guts...
It's still good for the country.
Right. How can you be upset that unemployment for black people or disabled people are at an all-time low? I don't understand that.
Because that just helps everybody.
You have such a chip on your shoulder that you're not the one that did it, that you don't applaud that? That's insane to me.
Well, they also want these people to be dependent on them, dependent on the government.
Yeah, I know. But it's just, it astounds me, the optics, that they don't even think about that.
Stamp rolls. Under my administration, 7 million Americans have come off food stamps and 10 million people have been lifted off of welfare.
Hey, my buddy Andy's on. Andy, actually running for office. Welcome to the program.
In 8 years under the last administration, over 300,000 working-age people dropped out of the workforce. In just 3 years of my administration, 3.5 million people, working-age people, have joined the workforce.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Andy. It says that he actually wound up losing. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. My friend Ray Wynn actually is on here asking about the white suits. The white suits are to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment.
Than the increase for the top 1%. After decades of flat and falling incomes, wages are rising fast, And wonderfully, they are rising fastest for low-income workers who have seen a 16% pay increase since my election.
Now, I'll say this because Trump's been talking about... Oh, wait, it's the nod. I'll say this about the economy. I think every president gets more either more criticism or more accolades than he should for the economy. But what he started out with, and I think that that's the reason that that was earlier in the speech, the stuff that he was talking about specifically about the regulation, about the pro-business policies, those are things that he did take an active step towards. So while you can't say that the whole thing is because of Trump, Trump is a contributing factor and he ought to be proud of that.
That's part of what you get for putting a businessman in office.
I mean, I think that that's at least one of the advantages, sure.
Yeah.
Adding more than $12 trillion to our nation's wealth, transcending anything anyone believed was possible.
My buddy Will talks about how he recognizes my mug. He was with me when I bought this in Ukraine.
In the world is looking up to, they admire. Consumer confidence has just reached amazing new highs. All of those millions of people with 401ks and pensions are doing far better than they have ever done before, with increases of 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100% and even more. Jobs and investments are pouring into 9,000 previously neglected neighborhoods, thanks to opportunity zones, a plan spearheaded.
All right, now, one thing Chris brought up here in the comment section, and he's 100% right, the market just went up the moment that he was elected. Some of that is just natural. Yeah, you're 100% correct. Actually, some of it was just anticipation by sheer merit of having somebody that wasn't odiously anti-business being in the office. Just by sheer merit of that, the projections were going up, and I guarantee you, if you get either Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren looking like they may win the presidency, you're going to see a dip in the stock market just because of speculation. But yeah, some of it was just natural. Some of it was just stuff that Trump happened to walk into, and some of it is his policy. So it's a mixture.
Opportunity zones are helping Americans like Army veteran Tony.
Yes, Justin, I did withhold aid to get my mug from Ukraine.
After struggling with drug addiction, Tony lost his job, his house, and his family. He was homeless. But then Tony found a construction company that invests in opportunity zones. He is now a top tradesman, drug-free, reunited with his family, and he is here tonight. Tony, keep up the great work, Tony.
All right, Tony. See, now that's what's great about this, is that first Trump gives you the actual raw data, and then he gives you the personal side of it.
Yeah.
Right. He's saying this is a guy who has actually been benefiting from this.
Even Pelosi had to clap for that one.
Yeah. I don't know why they can't. I tell you what, this is actually a good illustration, because you're right. They did clap for him as an individual. They did not clap for just unemployment amongst African Americans going down,
Right.
which shows you this. The emotional appeal works on Democrats. When you have an actual anecdotal evidence, I get that it's anecdotal evidence and you kind of have to throw it out if you're talking about an actual logical debate. But that's the reason that Democrats are more successful with people that think emotionally. They have that personal tie, and that speaks to them. And that's why in this speech, it's the same thing ultimately. It's minority unemployment going down, economic opportunity being better in the country. But what grabs them is the personal story, not the numbers and the data.
Right.
I think it just shows a difference in the way we think.
And it's also a downfall of the Democratic Party, because I've noticed a lot with a lot of my more Democratic friends is that
Sure.
they just worry about the emotions and not about hard facts.
Right. That's unfortunately something that is prevalent in the Democrat side. I think that there are, obviously exceptions to that rule as well, but
With the tremendous progress we have made over the past 3 years, America is now energy independent, and energy jobs, like so many other elements of our country, are at a record high.
And I've had to take a drink more for Pence than I have for Trump.
Just 3 years ago. Likewise, we are restoring.
He hasn't said huge yet.
Manufacturing might, even though predictions were, as you all know, that this could never, ever be done. After losing 60,000 factories under the previous two administrations, America has now gained 12,000 new factories under my administration, with thousands upon thousands of plants and factories being planned or being built.
Now, again, the factories thing specifically, that one's hard to quantify how much Trump had to do with it and how much he didn't.
Right.
They are coming back to the USA.
Because the thing is, the factories that are opening, those aren't jobs that did go overseas and are now coming back. Those are new jobs. Still an accomplishment, but it's not like he drew jobs back over from overseas. It's a little misleading.
To the American people was to replace the disastrous NAFTA trade deal.
Now, the thing about replacing the NAFTA trade deal is the trade deal that he replaced it with was pretty much just the NAFTA trade deal. Like, there were a handful of minute differences, so it's more of a symbolic victory for him.
For manufacturing jobs, many politicians came and went pledging to change or replace NAFTA, only to do so, and then absolutely nothing happened. But unlike so many who came...
Oh, absolutely, Will. We should have had an under-over on how many standing ovations we got. Okay, to answer a question here, that's not Pelosi rolling her eyes. She's so old that the sockets don't really work anymore. They just kind of, you know, she's like one of those dolls with the googly eyes. It just kind of goes whenever she moves her head.
And massively boost exports for our farmers, ranchers, and factory workers.
You know, the thing is, that's probably true, but
also to be a much greater degree of fairness and reciprocity. We will have that fairness and reciprocity, and I say that finally because it's been many, many years that we were treated fairly on trade.
Well, again, I don't buy into the whole tariff fair trade thing. I mean, a perfect example of why that's not something that's necessarily good or bad when he was touting about exports being bigger now and having more exports. You know what one of the biggest exporting countries in the world is right now? Venezuela. Their exports greatly outweigh their imports. Doesn't mean it's a sign of economic prosperity.
That will defend our workers, protect our intellectual property, bring billions and billions of dollars into our treasury.
I will say this, though. A reciprocity on trade, I think, wouldn't necessarily be a terrible thing. Like, if you're going to say, you're going to tax us 25% on this, we're going to, and say, but we'll only do it if you do it to us first. I'm a little bit more on board with that one. Just because they would know that the way to ratchet down their tariffs is, or the way to ratchet down our tariffs is to ratchet down theirs.
Right. But at the same time, we have perhaps the best relationship we've ever had with China, including with President
Oh,
Xi.
he said China.
They respect what we've done because, quite frankly, they could never really believe that they were able to get away with what they were doing year after year, decade after decade, without someone in our country stepping up and saying, that's enough.
You know what astounds me about President Trump's issues with China, like even predating his presidential run? Even before then, I was like, the dude's in real estate. Like, you can't export or import that.
As we restore American leadership throughout the world, we are once again standing up for freedom in our hemisphere. That's why my administration reversed the failing policies of the previous administration on Cuba.
Wait, we didn't reenact the embargo. I don't know that that's a reversal.
We are supporting the hopes of Cubans, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans to restore democracy. The United States is leading a 59-nation diplomatic coalition against the socialist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro.
Oh, that Pelosi applauds for.
Right?
It's like your party has been espousing everything Maduro believes in for the past 60 years, but now you're glad that we're opposing him.
A tyrant who brutalizes his people, but
It's
Maduro's
astounding.
tyranny will be smashed.
They're
and
pushing
broken.
for the same kind of government.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever I argue with someone and they say, no, we want democratic socialism, not what Venezuela has, I always say, okay, what policy specifically did Maduro enact that you're against? I've never gotten somebody to be able to answer that, not one.
Juan Guaido, Mr. President, please take this message back here.
Wow. They invited the interim president of Venezuela? Bold move, Cotton. Now, granted, this guy's also a socialist, so I find it interesting that we're favoring one socialist against the other, I guess the slightly less socialist, somewhat less authoritarian guy.
Great honor. Thank you very much.
Inviting him to the State of the Union, though,
All
wow.
Americans are united.
Did not see that coming.
Venezuelan people in their righteous struggle for freedom. Thank you very much for supporting.
And treating him like a hero, too. I have a feeling this is going to come back to bite Trump in the butt. I hope I'm wrong, but... I mean, and I'm not saying that because I'm incredibly worried about Trump. I'm more worried about the Venezuelan people. I'd rather, that'd be my first concern. That wouldn't become a disaster, but I don't know. This almost feels like the regime change that
Socialism destroys nations.
we tend to
Always remember freedom
do in the Middle
unifies
East.
the soul.
Good line. I hate that I was talking over most of it.
To safeguard American liberty, we have invested a record-breaking $2.2 trillion in the United States military.
Rand Paul's not clapping.
We have purchased the finest planes, missiles, rockets, ships, and every other form of military equipment, and it's all made right here in the USA.
Chris, I agree with you. He is hitting Bernie hard indirectly by talking about socialism, but you could also say that of Elizabeth Warren or, frankly, most of the candidates. I agree it's more direct when it comes to Bernie, but the general ideas and principles are what he's attacking, which I think is the best way to do it. Let's be honest, Trump is not one to shy away from an ad hominem attack. So it's nice to see him talking about the actual ideas.
$100 billion, and the number of allies meeting their minimum obligations has more than doubled. And just weeks ago, for the first time since President Truman established the Air Force, more than 70 years earlier, we created a brand new branch of the United States Armed Forces.
Space Force!
Called the Space Force.
I so want to be in the Space Force.
That'd be awesome.
I told them I would do it for free if they would just give me a lightsaber.
Absolutely.
As long as I get a lightsaber, I am in.
In the gallery tonight, we have a young gentleman, and what he wants so badly, 13 years old, Ian Longfay. He's an 8th grader from Arizona. Ian, please stand up.
Justin,
Has always dreamed
okay, so Justin just said that Warren is done because she said she pulled the I'm a woman card against Bernie. I think we need to banish Justin for assuming Elizabeth Warren's gender.
Space Force. As Ian says, most people look up at space. I want to look down on
Maybe
the
she was
world.
really playing the Native American card.
Well, I think that card got taken out of her hand. You see, she gave us that card, and then she took it away, which would make her... Well, I don't want to go into it. Absolutely, Chris. Space Force should have been one of the drinking game phrases.
Is his greatest hero of them all. Charles McGee was born in Cleveland, Ohio, 1 century ago. Charles is one of the last surviving Tuskegee Airmen, the first black fighter pilots, and he also happens to be Ian's great-grandfather.
Oh, man. In-studio applause. Right there. That's awesome. So, he's a Tuskegee Airman. His grandson wants to be in the Space Force. That's astounding. You know, the Tuskegee Airmen delivered the coin to the Super Bowl this year.
Did they really?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but, I mean, that's something that Tuskegee's, 35, 40 minutes from where we're sitting right now? I mean, that's huge.
I just had a conversation with one of the residents here the other night. We were talking about the basketball team in Tuskegee, the Golden Tigers. I'm like, why isn't their mascot the Tuskegee Airmen? That would be incredible.
Or the Red Tails.
It would be incredible.
Oh, I don't know why it's not that. You ever been to Tuskegee?
I've not.
You got to go to the museum they have there for the Tuskegee Airmen. It's awesome.
America in Korea and Vietnam. On December 7th, Charles celebrated his 100th birthday.
Justin, the Tuskegee Spaceman. That kid's going to be a Tuskegee Spaceman.
He is 100 years old and still able to stand upright.
And he looks dang good in those dress blues, especially for 100.
Yes, he does.
A few weeks ago, I signed a bill promoting Charles McGee to Brigadier General. And earlier today, I pinned the stars on his shoulders in the Oval Office. General McGee, our nation salutes you. Thank you, sir.
Man, that's awesome. That may be the moment of the night right there. Honestly. Brigadier General. Yeah, Chris, it may be the same guy that did deliver the coin at the Super Bowl because there's only, I think 4 or 5. There's a few, but there's not many Tuskegee Airmen left.
Reverend Martin Luther King, Americans have always rejected limits on our children's future. Members of Congress, we must never forget that the only victories that matter in Washington are victories that deliver for the American people.
Nadler. Hey, Nadler, can you get the knot on your tie any bigger? Good gracious. You can choke a horse with that thing.
Part of our country. Their dreams are the soul of our country, and their love is what powers and sustains our country. We must always remember that our job is to put America first.
Oh, America first. That is good tea.
The next step forward in building an inclusive society is making sure that every young American gets a great education and the opportunity to achieve the American dream. Yet for too long, countless American children have been trapped in failing government schools. To rescue these students, 18 states have created school choice in the form of opportunity scholarships. The programs are so popular that tens of thousands of students remain on a waiting list. One of those students is Janiyah Davis, a 4th grader from Philadelphia. Janiyah.
You know, it's a... And I'm a fan of it, by the way. I'm going to preface it by saying that. It is astounding that the way that the government helps kids is to get the government out of school. Like, the government plan to send a kid that's exceptional to a better school is to send them to a place that is better equipped than the government to educate them. Which I agree with.
Oh, 100%.
But it's just astounding that that's the way that we reward an exceptional student.
To 50,000 children. Janiyah and Stephanie are in the gallery. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here with your beautiful daughter. Thank you very much.
You know, one of the, and I've already said I'm not a huge fan of the State of the Union as a big speech anyway, but one of the redeeming qualities of it is, and this is true of any president, you always get to hear some cool stories when they talk about the guests that they bring. Like even Obama, Clinton, it didn't matter. There were always some cool stories interlaced in them.
That an opportunity scholarship has become available. It's going to you, and you will soon be heading to the school of your choice.
That's pretty cool. Wait, does somebody have a cheese head?
What?
I thought I saw like one of those Green Bay Packers cheese heads in the crowd. Surely my eyes were playing a trick on me.
Now I call on Congress to give 1 million American children the same opportunity Janiyah has just received. Pass the Education Freedom Scholarships and Opportunities Act, because no parent should be forced to send their child to a failing government school.
Hey.
All right.
I like that.
Yes. All right, Will, you are now banished from the discussion. Can't be cussing in my comment section.
A safe and secure environment in which to learn and to grow. For this reason, our magnificent First Lady has launched the Be Best initiative to advance a safe, healthy, supportive, and drug-free life for the next generation, online, in school, and in our communities. Thank you, Melania, for your extraordinary love and profound care for America's children. Thank you very much.
Okay, now, that program may very well be a fine program, but honestly, and this is just the libertarian side of me, why do we have a federal budget for the First Lady to do things anyway? Like, she's just the president's wife.
Right.
And there's some perks that come with that, sure, but like having actual agendas, like that's weird.
And we saw how terrible the last First Lady's plan was.
Well, she did give our kids cardboard to eat. That was something.
Will also provide new jobs and education opportunities to almost 15 million Americans. My budget also contains an exciting vision for our nation's high schools. Tonight, I ask Congress to support our...
Wait, we have a federal budget with high school funding? Leave that to the states, man.
...education in every single high school in America.
Federalized education standards for high schools. Yeah, I'm sure that'll go great. Mitch McConnell is so dead-faced.
Equal opportunity. I am also proud that we achieved record and permanent funding for our nation's historically black colleges and universities.
Same thing. Leave that to the states. There's no reason for the federal government to get involved in education.
A good life for American families also requires the most affordable, innovative, and high-quality healthcare system on earth. Before I took office, health insurance premiums had more than doubled in just 5 years. I moved quickly to provide affordable alternatives. Our new plans are up to 60% less expensive and better.
Okay, his point is good, but that was a horrible way to word it. 60% less expensive?
Right.
You should have said they've decreased by this much percent or this much per family. Like, his point is good. That's a bad way to phrase it.
Protect patients with pre-existing conditions.
That's actually a huge misstep. If insurance can't discriminate based on pre-existing conditions, then you can buy house insurance after your house is already on fire. Like all that does is raise prices.
And we will always protect your Social Security, always.
See, now that's one that I'm against Social Security on the whole, but I also do have a great deal of sympathy for people that have paid into that system for 40, 50, 60 years of their life, and you can't just tell them, sorry, we decided not to do it anymore. So I do think that we've got to start weaning people off of it and moving away from it, but, Trump's desire to make sure that those people that have paid into the system for a long time, I think that's well-founded, even as somebody like me that's sort of a constitutional federalist.
I think my grandparents deserve to get it back. Since
Exactly.
They've been paying it all. Yeah,
Yeah, they paid into the system.
Right.
They shouldn't just get robbed because the system doesn't work anymore.
It will save families massive amounts of money for substantially better care. But as we work to improve Americans' health care, there are those who want to take away your health care, take away your doctor, and abolish private insurance entirely.
Oh, going after Bernie full force. Well, and Warren.
32 lawmakers in this room have endorsed legislation to impose a socialist takeover of our health care system.
Wow.
Ripping out the private health insurance plans of 180 million very happy Americans.
See, that's a stab he should take. Because people forget that there are going to be people, and did with Obamacare, that lost the health insurance plan that they had and liked.
Right.
And the Democrats always phrase it as, well, you're keeping people, so many uninsured people from having health care. Well, a lot of those people didn't want health care, which is why they weren't
Socialized
insured.
health care doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
There's never been an example of socialized health care working for anybody.
Well, and without exception, it always winds up in healthcare rationing.
Right.
And so you may be covered, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the care that you need. And that's what they ignore. Going for the jugular there, I actually think was a smart move. Put them on the defensive.
I don't want hospitals to end up like the DMV.
No,
where you have to wait for hours for crappy service.
I don't think anything should be like
Nothing
the DMV.
should be like the DMV.
The DMV shouldn't be like the DMV.
While acting as a powerful lure for illegal immigration. That is what is happening in California and other states. Their systems are totally out of control, costing taxpayers vast and unaffordable amounts of money. If forcing American taxpayers to provide unlimited free health care to illegal aliens sounds fair to you, then stand with the radical left. But if you believe that we should defend American patients and American seniors, then stand with me and pass legislation to prohibit free government health care for illegal aliens.
See, and this is the other side of that. You remember how expensive your health care got? Because the promise was always, we're going to insure all these people that aren't insured, and it's going to be cheaper. Well, that doesn't make sense. You can't provide more product to more people and the price go down. It doesn't happen that way. And now what the Democrats are trying to do is say, not only that, but we're going to expand it even to illegal immigrants that haven't paid a dime into the system and are a net loss and aren't even citizens. And by the way, it's still going to be cheaper. You've got to be outside your mind to believe that. This is just not possible. I mean, to put it in simpler terms, it would be like saying Burger King is going to feed 30 more people tomorrow and they're going to save money doing it. No, that's not possible. They have to provide something to the customer.
And with the illegal immigrants thing, they should not reap the benefits of being in our country if they don't have to follow the laws that go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you make the non-citizen the beneficiary of the work of the citizen, you are no longer a country. You are the resident of a territory.
Right.
That's what it boils down to. Oh, the Democrats are disgusted. And I'm enjoying it.
Pleased to announce
the best part.
That for the first time in 51 years, the cost of prescription drugs actually went down. And working together, Congress can reduce drug prices substantially from current levels. I've been speaking to Senator Chuck
Pelosi playing with her dentures.
and others in Congress in order to get something on drug
Was she actually mouthing something?
and done quickly and properly.
It's possible, but it looked to me like she just lost her dentures for a second and flipped them back in there.
Dramatically lowering prescription drug prices. Get a bill on my desk and I will sign it into law immediately.
Look, that is something that Trump does deserve at least some credit for, because like I said, one of the things that his administration has consistently done better than anyone in modern history is slashing regulation. And the medical field is the most heavily regulated field, the most heavily regulated industry in the world.
With unyielding commitment, we are curbing...
Why are the Democrats doing the Nazi salute?
What were they saying?
I couldn't hear.
I couldn't make it out.
No, me either. I was busy talking.
Among the states hardest hit, Ohio is down 22%, Pennsylvania is down 18%, Wisconsin is down 10%, and we will not quit until we have beaten the opioid epidemic once and for all.
Come on, show the whole crowd. There are some Democrats not applauding that the opioid epidemic is getting better. I'm telling you, Trump has a superpower. He can make the Democrats support anything, no matter how dumb it is, by opposing it.
Like we saw in the Babylon Bee. He needs to start agreeing with the impeachment.
Trump is like, he could be the god of reverse psychology.
Absolutely.
Ambitious new initiatives to substantially improve care for Americans with kidney disease, Alzheimer's, and those struggling with mental health. And because Congress was so good as to fund my request, new cures for childhood cancer, and we will eradicate the AIDS epidemic in America by the end of this decade.
That's a bold statement.
That is bold. I don't know if he can back it up, but it's a bold statement.
It's a very bold statement.
Almost every American family knows the pain.
It may be doable, too.
Diagnosed with a serious illness.
We can hope so.
Here tonight is a special man, beloved by millions of Americans, who just received a stage 4 advanced cancer diagnosis.
Whoa, he's mentioning Rush in the speech?
But what is good news is that he is the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Rush Limbaugh, thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our...
My word. Granted, it's totally partisan, but I mean, what an honor to be mentioned in the State of the Union. News Radio 1440's own Rush Limbaugh. Talent on loan from God. I could do this show with half my brain tied behind my back.
And Rush, in recognition of all that you have done for our nation, the millions of people a day that you speak to and that you inspire, and all of the incredible work that you have done for charity, I am proud to announce tonight that you will be receiving our country's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Wow.
Well earned, sir.
Wow.
The reason we're here tonight is because of Rush Limbaugh, because my job would not exist if it were not for Rush Limbaugh. This guy built this industry. He designed the format. I mean, Paul Harvey basically had the idea. Rush Limbaugh actually brought it to life with a hour-long opinion show without the news. Or the hard journalism is what I should say. I mean, there's an entire industry that exists because of Rush Limbaugh. I feel that's very fitting.
I will now ask the First Lady
He was absolutely
of the United
dumbfounded.
States to present you...
I don't think he saw that coming at all.
Not at all.
Oh my gosh, Melania's doing it right there live at the State of the Union?
That's crazy.
Has a First Lady ever done that before? Oh my gosh, Rush is welling up. I've never seen Rush well up. Man, couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Rush and Catherine, congratulations. Thank you, Catherine. As we pray for all who are sick, we know that America is constantly achieving new medical breakthroughs. In 2017, doctors at St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City delivered one of the earliest premature babies ever to survive. Born at just 21 weeks and 6 days and weighing less than a pound, Ellie Schneider was a born fighter. Through the
Hey, that's Kavanaugh's wife.
and the prayers of her
I mean,
parents,
not the lady on screen right now, the blonde lady sitting next to her.
battle of life. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
Now, see, that's America. I mean, the innovation, medical or otherwise, that makes lives better through the free market system. That's America in a nutshell right there. It has brought more people out of poverty and squalor. It has brought more people, to just be able to survive than any other system throughout all of human history.
It reminds us that every child is a miracle of life. And thanks to modern medical wonders, 50% of very premature babies delivered at the hospital where Ellie was born now survive. It's an incredible thing. Thank you very much.
And because of that, the viability test on abortion is going to be virtually non-existent within the span of just a few years.
Congress to provide an additional $50 million to fund neonatal research for America's youngest patients.
It's crazy to me that he's talking about this healthy girl that was born premature, but a lot of states and a lot of people agree with the fact that they would have been able to terminate her at that point when she was born.
Well, and that's what I'm saying with the viability thing. Like, one of the first things I'll say is, well, the baby can't survive without the mother. Well, at a certain point, that's true, but science is advancing so quickly that we're getting to the point to where that's not even going to be an argument. They were able to keep a barely after conception lamb alive in an artificial womb for weeks and weeks on end recently. And it's going to get to the point that science is so advanced that that's not even an argument anymore.
Whether we are Republican, Democrat, or independent, surely we must
I don't know how it's an argument now, but
well, it's not a good one.
It's not a good one.
It's one they use.
America's moms and dads, I was recently proud to sign the law providing new parents in the federal workforce paid family leave, serving as a model for the rest of the country.
See, now I'll say this. That I'm fine with. Because it wasn't mandated to every employee. It was, these are the people that work for the federal government, and we're going to make this the industry standard. If other people want to follow, fine. If they don't, that's fine too. But we'll act as an example.
And he
I'm okay with
did
that.
it as the boss of his own company,
Right.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
All across our nation. $40 million American families have an average $2,200 extra thanks to our child tax credit.
I'm always in favor of more people keeping more of their own money.
I've also overseen historic funding increases for high-quality child care, enabling 17 states to help more children, many of which have reduced or eliminated their wait lists altogether. And I sent Congress a plan with a vision to further expand access to high-quality child care and urge you to act immediately.
Look, as long as he's saying this is what I'm encouraging you to do, but it's not a federal mandate, I'm not going to pass a law that says you have to, I'm fine with that.
Right.
I have no problem with the president offering his opinion on things like that or doing things within the federal government to say this is what I would like other people to do. It's when you start saying, no, you have to do this or we're coming after you. That's when I have a problem. Oh, Pelosi playing with her dentures.
We must also rebuild America's infrastructure.
All right, fiscal conservatives, watch out. Bear trap's about to be laid.
To pass Senator John Barrasso's highway bill to invest in new roads, bridges, and tunnels all across our land. I'm also committed to ensuring that every citizen can have access to high-speed internet, including and especially in rural America.
Why is that the federal government's job? If demand is high enough and people are willing to pay for it, it'll show up without the federal government doing anything. Heck, I believe about half the people in rural America live there because they don't want
America safe. That means supporting the men and women of law enforcement at every level, including our nation's heroic ICE officers.
I appreciate him talking about ICE officers. People forget that they're law enforcement just like the FBI or any other federal agency that does that.
Aliens charged with nearly 10,000 burglaries, 5,000 sexual assaults, 45,000 violent assaults, and 2,000 murders. Tragically, there are many cities in America where radical politicians have chosen to provide sanctuary for these criminal, illegal aliens. In sanctuary cities, local officials order police to release dangerous criminal aliens to prey upon the public instead of handing them over to ICE to be safely removed. Just 29 days ago, a criminal alien freed by the sanctuary city of New York was charged with the brutal rape and murder of a 92-year-old woman. The killer had been previously arrested for assault, but under New York sanctuary policies, he was set free. If the city had honored ICE's detainer request, his victim would still be alive today.
Now, sanctuary cities should not be a thing.
Absolutely not.
Law declaring their whole state to be a sanctuary for criminal illegal immigrants.
He just said sanctuary.
Terrible sanctuary with catastrophic results. Here is just one tragic example. In December 2018, California police detained an illegal alien with 5 prior arrests, including convictions for robbery and assault. But as required by California's sanctuary law, local authorities released him. Days later, the criminal alien went on a gruesome spree of deadly violence. He viciously shot one man going about his daily work. He approached a woman sitting in her car and shot her in the arm and in the chest. He walked into a convenience store and wildly fired his weapon. He hijacked a truck and smashed into vehicles, critically injuring innocent victims.
Here's the thing that's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
With the sanctuary cities, not only do they not, like, they release the criminal, right, the illegal immigrant. They don't keep them like they would an American citizen. If it was an American citizen that did the same thing.
Right, it goes back to the comment I made earlier. The non-citizen has more rights than the citizen.
Yes, which is ridiculous. Because if I did those same things as this guy was doing.
See, but me, as a white citizen that's a male, with all my white privilege and male privilege, I would be kept in jail.
Yeah.
The guy that just snuck across the border 2 days ago, didn't matter if he had, raped somebody. They just let him go. I don't think that it gets more privilege than that. Where you can just break laws and not suffer any consequences for them.
Because at that point, what's to keep you from breaking the laws?
Well, there's not anything. That's the point.
Yeah. Because you're not responsible for your actions.
But this is Trump, again, this is the second time he's done this in the speech so far, going for the jugular. Because what he has done is he just set up a picture, and it's an accurate picture. It's one that reflects reality. It's you can stand with me and be with ICE, who is catching X number of murderers and X number of rapists and stopping all these violent crimes, or you can choose to stand with the Democrats, who are openly supporting just releasing these guys out to God knows where into your communities. You choose. And that accurately reflects the state of illegal immigration in the country. And it's the reason that it's Trump's core issue. Hey, Shelby and Brooks, two of Alabama's guys.
1,000 wicked human traffickers, and I have signed 9 pieces of legislation to stamp out the menace of human trafficking domestically and all around the globe. My administration has undertaken an unprecedented effort to secure the southern border of the United States.
See, and that's another aspect they don't talk about very often is the United States, especially along the southern border, is one of the most heavily sex-trafficked places in the world.
Absolutely.
And having open borders contributes to that.
My administration has ended catch and release. If you come illegally, you will now be promptly removed from our country.
As it should be.
Well, there should not be a crime that carries with it a criminal penalty like that you shouldn't be. There's no reason for anybody, regardless, citizen or not, to just catch and be like, oh, okay, you can go on now.
Right,
Like, that's not how our system works. We're a nation of laws.
Like, in sanctuary cities, they could at least make the argument that those people have the same rights as the citizens. That could at least be an argument. But when you give this person more rights than your citizens...
Right. They've been given something that the citizens don't even have access to.
And as the wall rapidly goes up, drug seizures rise.
Oh, wait, he mentioned wall.
And the border crossings are going down and going down very rapidly. Last year I traveled to the border in Texas and met Chief Patrol Agent Raul Ortiz. Over the last 24 months, Agent Ortiz and his team have seized more than 200,000 pounds of poisonous narcotics, arrested more than 3,000 human smugglers, and rescued more than 2,000...
See, and that's another thing that Democrats neglect. There is an insanely high rate of Latino and minority people that are ICE agents. In fact, it's probably, I would say, arguably the most diverse branch of the federal government because of where it's located and where the kind of people they recruit. They act like they're a bunch of white supremacist Nazis, but the truth is roughly half of ICE's force is Latino. Because they followed the rules, they did the right thing, and they don't care that a lot of the people that they're arresting happen to share their genetic makeup. It doesn't matter to them, they broke the law.
Border Patrol and ICE. Thank you very much.
That's just how law enforcement people operate and should operate.
Over these historic gains, we are working on legislation to replace our outdated and randomized immigration system with one based on merit, welcoming those who follow the rules, contribute to our economy, support themselves financially, and uphold our values.
I don't understand why that's controversial. We should prioritize who we let into the country by who it's going to benefit us the most? Yes.
Absolutely.
That's what everything the government does should do. How does this benefit the citizen? I mean, shouldn't that be the first consideration in any policy? All right, I'm about out of tea.
Mitch McConnell. Thank you, Mitch. And his colleagues in the Senate.
Get the Tactics logo slapped on those mugs and distribute them like Crowder.
187 new federal judges to
Your News Radio 1440 beer steins. That's a good look. Brought my beer stein from the preacher on the radio.
Kavanaugh. Thank you.
Gorsuch and Kavanaugh get mentioned in the speech.
And we have many in the pipeline.
Okay, I like it.
Is also defending religious liberty and that includes the constitutional right to pray in public schools.
Yeah. You know, that's one thing that I think even the left has kind of backed off on now.
We don't tear down crosses.
What do you mean?
We don't ban
The prayer in public schools.
We don't muzzle
Now, granted, you're from a different part of the country, so your experience may be different, but like just based on what I've seen, it feels like we've moved a lot more in that direction in the past 10, 15 years.
Up in the Northwest, in Oregon and Washington, it was very, very different than that.
Right.
My little sister, she was in 6th grade when we were up there, and her 6th grade teacher had the class meditate, and they were praying to Buddha during class for a week.
So up there, they're mandating prayers, just not to God.
Not to God. If you try to pray to God, or a teacher tries to pray to God, then, bye. But she was allowed to pray to Buddha and have her entire class meditate. My sister came to the office and called us and goes, "Pick me up, please."
I didn't even know Buddhists prayed to Buddha. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
It was
Like, I knew
very
they
bizarre.
meditated. I didn't think they actually prayed to Buddha. Oh, well. Shows how much I know.
Now we must embrace.
She just said it was very strange. She was like, "Come pick me up because I'm done meditating to Buddha." Like, this is ridiculous.
I'm asking Congress to fully fund
That is weird.
part of this program to ensure that the next man and the first woman on the moon will be American astronauts, using this as a launching pad to ensure that America is the first nation to plant
Well, America first. It's close enough.
Mars.
Oh, he's talking about getting to Mars.
You know how we're going to do it? Space Force.
My administration is also
The Enterprise.
strongly defending.
I don't know why they didn't just straight up use the Star Trek logo.
Right?
I would have. I would have just used it. Like, got permission from CBS and say, yeah, let's trademark it. Why not?
Last week I announced a groundbreaking plan for peace between Israel and the Palestinians. Recognizing that all past attempts have failed, we must be determined and creative.
That's right, Chris. We're going to Mars.
The region and give millions of young people the chance to realize a better future. 3 years ago, the barbarians of ISIS held over 20,000 square miles of territory in Iraq and Syria.
Yeah, it was larger than the state of New Jersey.
Territorial caliphate has been 100% destroyed, and the founder and leader of ISIS, the bloodthirsty killer known as al-Baghdadi, is dead.
Yeah. America. You know, I really should have put al-Baghdadi or Soleimani on this thing, too. Kind of surprised I didn't think of that.
We are joined this evening by Carl and Marcia Mueller. After graduating from college, their beautiful daughter, Kyla.
So here's my question. Why is Conan the dog not one of the guests at the State of the Union? That should have happened.
Some people find God in nature. Some people find God in love. I find God in suffering. I've known for some time what my life's work is, using my hands as tools to relieve suffering. In 2013, while caring for suffering civilians in Syria, Kayla was kidnapped, tortured, and enslaved by ISIS and kept as a prisoner of al-Baghdadi himself. After more than 500 horrifying days of captivity, al-Baghdadi...
There's no telling what happened during that 500 days.
Young, beautiful Kayla. She was just 26 years old. On the night that U.S. Special Forces operations ended al-Baghdadi's miserable life, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, received a call in the Situation Room. He was told that the brave men of the elite Special Forces team that so perfectly carried out the operation had given their mission a name, Task Force 814. It was a reference to a special day, August 14th, Kayla's birthday. Carl and Marcia, America's warriors, never forgot Kayla, and neither will we. Thank you.
It's a good backstory. Unlike ISIS, we don't leave people behind.
Every day, America's men and women in uniform.
That's a good question, Will. Will's asking if the church member in Texas, oh, I can't remember his name, the one that took down the shooter, if he'd be at the State of the Union. I don't know.
Ooh.
Oh, what was his name? I covered that story too.
2008, Sergeant Hake wrote a letter to his one-year-old son, Gage. I will be with you again, he wrote to Gage. I will teach you to ride your first bike, build your first sandbox, watch you play sports, and see you have kids also. I love you, son. Take care of your mother. I am always with you, Daddy. On Easter Sunday of 2008, Chris was out on patrol in Baghdad when his Bradley fighting vehicle was hit by a roadside bomb. That night he made the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Sergeant Hake now rests in eternal glory in Arlington, and his wife Kelly is in the gallery tonight, joined by their son, who is now a 13-year-old and doing very, very well. To Kelly and Gage, Chris will live in our hearts forever. He is looking down on you now. Thank you.
By the way, that guy's name is Jack Wilson. Oh, thanks. My Uncle Hobie just logged on. Jack. Yeah, great story.
Thank you very much. Thank you both very much.
You know, that's the thing about military, though. We always think about their sacrifice, and we should. That's appropriate. But I think their families sacrifice at least as much, if not more.
Soleimani was the Iranian regime's most ruthless butcher, a monster who murdered or wounded thousands of American service members in Iraq. As the world's top terrorist, Soleimani orchestrated the deaths of countless men, women, and children. He directed the December assault and went on to assault U.S. forces in Iraq, was actively planning new attacks when we hit him very hard. And that's why last month, at my direction, the U.S. military executed a flawless precision strike that killed Soleimani and terminated his evil reign of terror forever.
You know, one thing that was fascinating about that is a common argument of the very anti-war left against that was always, well, you're hurting innocent people, there's collateral damage, you're bringing down buildings, and no, in this strike, we literally just killed those two. Our tech has gotten so good that we can take out just two people from afar, and that still wasn't enough for them.
Our citizens, you forfeit your life.
See, now, I appreciate that the president has drawn the red line there. Personally, I probably wouldn't have drawn it there, but that has sent a very clear message to our enemies. You kill one of our citizens, we're coming after you.
Oh, yeah.
The Iranian regime must abandon its pursuit of nuclear
Nope, Iran.
weapons, stop spreading terror, death, and destruction, and start working for the good of its own people. Because of our powerful sanctions, the Iranian economy is doing very, very poorly. We can help them make a very good and short time recovery. It can all go very quickly, but perhaps they are too proud or too foolish to ask for that help. We are here. Let's see which road they choose. It is totally up to them.
See, now that ought to be the American message. That whether it's Iran or any of our other enemies, you have the option. You don't have to go down this road. We will meet any threats with appropriate force if it comes to that, but ultimately, like, if you want to go towards economic prosperity and liberty, we'll help you. We'll do that for you.
Looking to kill hundreds of thousands of people in Afghanistan, many of them totally innocent. It is also not our function to serve other nations as law enforcement agencies. These are warfighters that we have, the best in the world, and they either want to fight to win or not fight at all. We are working to finally end America's longest war and bring our troops back home.
You know, for the people that are somewhat undecided, I think that really hits very hard at the people that want to bring troops home, that are contemplating whether they're going to vote Democrat or Republican, because it really does show that Trump's the kind of guy that is willing to do what he thinks he has to, but at the same time, he really does want the troops home. He's not a war hawk. Never has been. There are other Republicans that are. He happens to not be one of them.
Contrary to popular belief.
Yeah, honestly, frankly, I'm more hawkish than Trump. I think that he's a little bit too dove-like. But, you know, the idea that he's some rabid anti-war radical is just stupid.
It's impossible for all of our families to live in safety and in peace, and we want to thank you. Thank you, Amy. But Amy, there is one more thing. Tonight we have a very special surprise.
Does Melania get to hand this one out too?
Your husband is back from deployment. He is here with us tonight. And
Oh, how cool is that?
Wow.
Oh man, I just realized that kid may not even know who his dad is. He is a little guy. Man, that's great to see. I'm shocked that they did that during the State of the Union.
Quite the homecoming.
Yeah. But I mean, like, the optics of that, just, I know that I'm looking at this as a cold, analytical, political animal here, but I mean, the optics of that are just phenomenal. Like, there's almost not a better scene that you can come up with than Soldier coming home seeing his family. I mean, there's a reason that across all spectrums of political thought, everybody watches those things on YouTube. Right. And there's hardly a dry eye in the house when it happens.
I always love the chant.
I mean, you can't look at that and tell me that America is not an exceptional country. You just can't do it.
As the world bears witness tonight, America is a land of heroes. This is a place where greatness is born, where destinies are forged, and where legends come to life. This is the home of Thomas Edison and Teddy Roosevelt.
Keep America great again. It's happening. I can tell it. Calling it now.
Pershing, Patton, and MacArthur. This is the home of Abraham Lincoln, Frederick Douglass, Amelia Earhart, Harriet Tubman, the Wright brothers, Neil Armstrong, and so many more. This is the country where children learn names like Wyatt Earp, Davy Crockett, and Annie Oakley. This is the place where the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, and where Texas patriots made their last stand at the Alamo.
Go Texas.
The beautiful, beautiful Alamo. The American nation was carved.
Okay, it is weird to call the Alamo beautiful. Like, I get what he's going for,
yeah, but yes.
Odd.
The most determined men and women ever to walk on the face of the earth. Our ancestors braved the unknown, tamed the wilderness, settled the Wild West, lifted millions from poverty, disease, and hunger, vanquished tyranny and fascism, ushered the world to new heights of science and medicine, laid down the railroads, dug out the canals, raised up the skyscrapers, and ladies and gentlemen, our ancestors built the most exceptional republic ever to exist in all of human history.
Amen.
And we are making it greater than ever before.
Okay, I missed the wording a little bit, but I was right in the general direction. It was a playoff of Make America Great Again.
He'll probably end it that way.
This is our glorious and magnificent inheritance.
Pelosi's doing a book report in the background while this is going on.
We are the pathfinders. We settled the new world. We built the modern world. And we changed history forever by embracing the eternal truth that everyone
I'm really
is made
curious as to what
equal
she is doing.
by the hand of Almighty God.
If I had to guess, looking at new hearing aids.
America is the place where anything can happen. America is the place where anyone can rise. And here, on this land, on this soil, on this continent, the most incredible dreams come true. This nation is our canvas, and this country is our masterpiece. We look at tomorrow and see unlimited frontiers just waiting to be explored. Our brightest discoveries.
Man, that's downright eloquent. I'm not used to Trump being so eloquent.
I love that quote.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Our grandest journeys are not yet made. The American age, the American epic, the American adventure has only just begun. Our spirit is still young. The sun is still rising. God's grace is still shining. And my fellow Americans, the best is yet to come. Thank you. God bless you. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
All right, so
The president promised relentless.
Pelosi just ripped up whatever she was writing or looking over.
Tonight.
Oh, Fox has Tommy Lahren on to offer her insight.
Oh, I bet that's fascinating.
Upstaged by
Boy, people think that I'm harsh on people.
Speaker of the House who just ripped up his speech. It appears she just tore up some papers, and that may be the speech that he handed her when he walked out, and they did not shake hands.
All right,
Again,
so
it was an exclamation point. The president.
all right, so the president's walking out right now, and I got to say, first of all, the let's cut off the CBS commentators because I frankly don't care what they think. But no, one thing that I wanted to bring up, and I kind of want to bounce this off of you real quick, Ethan, if you don't mind. President Trump gets a lot of flack from people, and I'm not even talking about from partisan hacks or whatever. One of the things that, and I've been critical of him about this too, is that he does tend to and has a habit of giving sort of a dark picture, and it's all doom and gloom. And I got to say, I don't think that I remember a State of the Union ending like that was that optimistic. I mean, is it just me? Did you get that sense as well, or?
No, it was, and this was very different from most of his speeches, too.
Right, this was a, frankly, not very Trump-esque State of the Union. But I mean, the way he ended it, really highlighting the ideas of American exceptionalism, talking about how, hey, what we've been doing for the past 4 years is great, let's keep it going. I mean, that's obviously a campaign call. But talking about everything from America being a nation of heroes, explorers, people that solve problems, cure diseases, go to the moon. And I mean, that's about as American as it gets, talking about us settling new frontiers and going out there. I got to say, I I don't know that I've ever heard a State of the Union that optimistic.
And there at the end, he was hitting a lot of points that even the Democrats couldn't not applaud.
Right. And I don't know exactly if he was going for that specifically, like he wanted to end on a note of everybody standing up and applauding, even if they happen to be his political enemies or not. I don't know that that was the intention, but it was certainly the effect. And I don't know. What do you think of the speech overall? What's your analysis?
Overall, he was able to provide some good facts as to what has actually been done, what's been working, and what he thinks will work in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I'm excited for the next term.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us. I appreciate it. And I'll just give some closing thoughts here. But, always great to have some new voices in the studio. So thanks for coming by. And, before we leave, I would just say that you're going to hear a lot of commentary on this speech specifically. You're going to hear they're about to have the Democrat rebuttal. I don't even know who they've got doing it this year. Frankly, that's a thankless job, and I feel sorry for whoever has it, regardless of who the president is, whether it's a Republican or Democrat, because that's one of those things that you're competing with the president of the United States at a joint chief, and you're usually in a little bitty room in a small venue, and there's no way to compete with that. I mean, the same was true when it was President Obama giving the State of the Unions, and it was Republicans like Marco Rubio or Nikki Haley. Like, just from an aesthetic standpoint, there's no way to compete with that, even if you have all your facts right and the other person happen to be wrong. So I don't envy that, but what's more important is when it comes to the State of the Union, I think that what Trump did a good job of doing, and of course it was geared towards getting reelected. Every president does that when they're coming to the end of their first term, and they use the State of the Union because it's such a big venue, it's such a big bully pulpit to be able to speak from. Of course they're going to use it to push for their reelection, and Trump is no different. He did exactly the same thing here. But I really do think that genuinely, and this is the thing that I think that people gravitated toward Trump in the first place, that guy really does believe America is the best place to live, ever. That there's not even a very close second, to be perfectly honest. That you look at the things that America has been able to do, whether it comes to our freedom of religion, the liberties that we set forth that other people, I mean, you look at the things that America has been able to do, the ideas that have come out of the American founding, those things have liberated people all over the country. We've done so much good that good spills over our borders. And when it comes to things like advancements in medicine, transportation, technology, things that have made obesity now more of a problem than starvation. For the first time in the world, obesity is a larger health risk to the world than not having enough to eat. That's amazing that we've come this far in a little over 200 years. When you consider that we have thousands of years of human history to compete with. And so ultimately, I think that that's where it's coming from, is that President Trump really does believe that this is an exceptional country, that is a great country, that is a force for good in the world, and that is in stark contrast to what the Democrats believe at their core. It's fascinating because they believe ultimately that America has been largely a force for evil. And I think when you compare those two messages, that an awful lot of Americans are going to go with that message. I could be wrong, and goodness knows I don't have the best track record when it comes to predicting elections, but I think that's going to be a very difficult message to beat going into, especially since he can, what Ethan was talking about, just point to his numbers and say, scoreboard. You don't even really have to explain or give nuance with that, with the list of accomplishments he's been able to do. I just don't see anybody, regardless of who it is coming out of this Democrat primary, I just don't see anybody coming out of that with a message that's even close to that strong. So that's going to be it. Thank you so much for joining us for our first ever live stream coverage of the State of the Union. First time we've been able to do this or had the technology to do this here on News Radio 1440. As always, stay the course, friends. Tactics is a production of News Radio 1440 and Cumulus Media Montgomery. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Cumulus Media or our business partners. Graphics by Jessica Dawson. Video production by Jackson Dean. Broadcast studio provided by Faulkner University. Location studio provided by the Dalraida Church of Christ. Copyright